Hello, Patrick.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Yes, finally we chat a little bit. That's good. Thank you
Yes.
for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome. There have been 20 people who signed up. Some of them are a little bit late.
Okay.
Um, but yeah,
Okay,
we,
it's
we,
okay.
we, we should have. And by the way, many of them watch these interviews offline when they have time because of different time zones and busy schedules.
Yes.
So this meeting is recorded. Um, And again, I'm
Hmm.
going to share this on social media and LinkedIn, most importantly, and also with the different community members.
Thank you.
So
You are based in France, correctly?
I'm
Are
based
you based
exactly
in
in the
France?
south of France. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
You're based in Canada, right?
Nice. No, I'm in Belgium, actually.
Oh, Belgium. Why did I uh, think
Yeah.
of Canada? I don't know why.
Well,
Is it? Yes.
well, because maybe because I'm completely 100% Canadian from the West Coast, but for the
Oh,
last 2 years I've been living in Europe. I was living in
okay,
France for 1 year, and now I'm in Belgium.
okay. What part of the city? Oh, of the country? Sorry.
I'm in Brussels. I'm in the South Brussels,
Yes,
so
but
like yeah,
in
in the
France,
city.
when you were in France,
Ah, I was in the southeast of France, like by the coast, like Toulon.
very nice,
Um,
very nice. I live not far from there. And by the way, I have some real estate in
okay.
Toulon, very beautiful city. I live in
Ah,
Aix-en-Provence, which is 1 hour driving
okay.
from
Yeah,
Toulon.
it's not far, not
Very
far.
nice.
And yeah, and I got a family that lives in Gap in Hautes-Alpes.
Absolutely, very nice. I drive there when I go to the mountains every time.
So yeah, I stay like 6 months in the south, 6 months in the Alps. It was very nice. And then, but there was no job for us, so we moved to Belgium, where it was a much bigger opportunity for yes. I want to try the sharing button because normally it should be okay. Just want to see what you think.
Yeah, I have a small problem
Yes,
with
should
my
be okay.
my AirPod, just trying to get it fixed. This should be better. By the way, I'm going to lose this one and keep only the left one. So what I'm going to do is start with a general presentation of iCare. It takes a couple of minutes. Um,
Hmm.
and then we are going to
Yeah,
jump into the presentation. 30 minutes of presentation and then 30 minutes of
hmm.
question and answers. So this should
No problem.
yes bring
Yeah,
us
and
to 1 hour.
I remove I make it fun, or like with as fun as I can be. It's still
Okay,
technical, but I'm trying to
okay,
make it
okay,
easy to read as possible. Yes.
great. So let me share my screen and start with the presentation.
Yeah. And by the way, I joined the community, so I'm part of the community
Thank you
now.
very much. Thank you very much. You'll be updated with all the news and the different things that are happening, different events and
Mm.
meetups and so on. So I think it's a great resource to have. So as a general presentation, so we have created this community and this initiative, iCare Longevity, which is something that is trying to help people live 100 years in good health. And a
Mm.
couple of decades ago, this was maybe a pipe dream. But today, with the recent breakthroughs in preventative medicine, this has become an ambitious yet attainable goal. And the people who say that it's surprising, I would like to say, or eventually a little bit futuristic, I would like to say that there are different countries that are proactively applying this methodology to the general population, such as South Korea, for example, or Singapore. So those countries are very good students when it comes to longevity practices. And I think we should find some inspiration out there in all the rest of the countries in the world. So the way we help people to live as long and healthy as possible is through two different approaches. One of them is this Ikare Longevity community we have created, which is 100% free. And we try to give people practical tips and tricks to live longer and to understand those things as profoundly as possible for free. And for the people who want to get serious about it and feel like needing personalized assistance, we have a concierge medicine service where we pair each patient with a medical doctor with expertise in longevity and a health coach that is also helping the patient implement the doctor's recommendations into their daily lives. And iCare is working like sort of going to the gym. We provide the tools and guidelines and help and personalized recommendations, but the patient has to provide the effort and self-discipline to move the needle forward. So that being said, let's get going. So we are today with Patrick Bensen, founder and director of the Tomorrow Institute and Brainmark. And doing many other things. I think you will be much better to introduce yourself, Patrick. And he's going to talk about predictive mental health detection. And as all of us know, mental health is a very important component of longevity when we think about preventative medicine and living longer and healthier. So that being said, let me stop sharing my screen and yes, welcome you to the workshop. We're listening to you.
Thank you so much for the, and yes, you're right. Longevity include mental health. Actually, is the WHO, the World Health Organization, that says some years ago there's no health without mental health. It took a very long time, and the WHO have to actually mention that to act upon mental health, because they're always, in most countries, and I live in many continents, in many countries in my life, from Southeast Asia to North America to all Europe. I've seen, and I got friends from all over the world. Mental health is always the last thing they do. They always take the last part. They say always, "I'll be fine. I just have to sleep it over." No, you don't sleep over mental health. You need to do something about it, and it's not something you wash it off. I always say in my country, you just like you sleep over it and you wash it off and it'll be okay. No, it won't be. So I'm a clinical psychologist from Canada, from Vancouver, and also I'm a organizational psychologist. And basically, and now I'm based in Brussels, in Belgium, for 6 months now. Actually, 6 months, yes. And I'm in my clinic right now. As you can see, this is the picture because it was better. This is where I am right now, my Brainmark clinic, and I've got patients after this meeting. I got patients here still on mental health. Brainmark, and let me start my presentation here. Okay, you see my screen, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so let me do that in full screen so it'll be easier. There we go. Bigger. I guess you see all of the screen, but okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but it's okay. It helped me too. As long as it's like readable and not too small, it's okay.
We have this screen enter full screen mode. So I'm not sure this is exactly the presentation you want to show.
Okay, let me
It
see where
looks
is the
like
full screen mode.
you should click on that enter full screen
Yeah,
mode. Yes, so now I can see your screen.
yeah, I'm trying to see the full screen mode. Here we go, full screen mode. That's my mistake. Here we go. Better?
Okay, great.
All right, so Brainmark, so I just present myself. Let me go straight into the thing. So Brainmark is here to revolutionize the mental health within predictive AI. So we couldn't do it before. This is a picture of me, of me. I'm actually driving, but that was during the Olympics. The Olympic Committee invited us in Paris Olympic game, and it was so noisy in the room they gave us that I couldn't make any test. So I took the people outside in my car in the parking lot, and it was much quiet. That's also proof that all we need to do this kind of assessment is just a laptop. I was connecting with my phone to the internet and the headset that you see here with the 20 sensors. That's all you need. I can do it in a car. I can do that anywhere in the office. So it's like bringing the hospital to you. So the idea is to really democratize mental health and to ask you how you feel, but not you directly, to ask your brain how it feels. So far, mental health, it was what I call the 30-30-30%. Anybody coming to see me, like I got a new patient tonight, they would come and I don't know what they're going to talk about, but they're going to talk about 30% of what they're going to tell me, more or less articulated. Some people are very clear about what's going on in their life. Some are very in the haze of what's going on. That's 30% of information. And at the moment, with that brain mark, that's all we have to make a diagnosis and trying to help a patient. What we don't know is what the patient retains, don't want to tell you because they think it's not of your concern or they don't see how irrelevant it could be. So they don't tell you. You might find out later or never. And of course, there's 30% of the information that they don't know themselves. For example, if they build burnout, that takes 4 years to build, and in year one, knowing that in 4 years they're going to collapse. But that made them in year one a building bird, they don't know. And no one can tell. There's no symptom. Remember, everything we talk about is something we feel based on symptom. When you feel, it's already too late. So BrainMark was created to really bring the other 60% or 70% to make 100% that we're missing. And the only way to do that is to ask the brain directly how you feel. Since the patient will only tell you 30%. So we need to do something very quick, intervention. And that's the problem. Like 1 in 4 individuals around the world suffering mental health. Late diagnosis cost a lot more money, and they also not always addressable. I mean, we can always address when it's too far down, then it takes either a very long time or sometimes we cannot bring the patient back. If you know in advance, it's not only cheaper, but you can save the patient, cure the patient even, much better. So the idea is like what we do is to take all these problems and trying to solve the problem before the patient feels the first symptom. So basically, if I know that you have a burnout coming up and I remove the burnout coming up, you will never know you had in the first place. And you continue your life. And that's where in longevity, because all these burden that really burden us to have all these problems, whether it's mental or physical. Because remember, folks, mental problems become very quickly physical problem. When people complain about, I've got back pain, unless you had a motorcycle accident or a bad position at the gym, if it's not something you did to yourself, then it's mental. It goes down, all the way down. And when you feel it, it's probably 10 years down the line. So we came with a solution with this an EEG. So what we did, we took an EEG, an electroencephalogram, that was abandoned from the 70s by the industry because MRI came in. And when the MRI came in, they say, okay, well, we can leave up the EEG because there's no need. We have the MRI now. Except it's completely wrong. MRI is a wonderful machine and it can do a lot of things. but it cannot do one thing that the EEG can. For example, an MRI cannot tell you how you feel. It cannot tell you how stressed you are. It cannot tell you how depressed you are. An EEG can, but not an MRI. Because of this mistaken in the 70s, 80s, when MRI came in, they abandoned the EEG technology. And if you go to the hospital today and ask for an EEG, they have a new version of the 1970 development version. It looks new, but they stopped developing in 1970. So we took that technology and we did it a 5.0 version. It looks like this. And this helmet, for example, of my partners, is approved by the FDA and is in use at NASA astronauts or of the pilot for the US Air Force, among others. So it's really, really, really well done. It's FDA approved as a medical device. It's not a gadget. It's not the Apple Watch. It's not something that works sometimes. It's a medical device. And that's the part you see. The part we don't see is what we do with the data, which I'm going to show you. So in 6 minutes, we put this in 6 minutes, no gel, nothing. We put in 6 minutes, 3 minutes eye closed, 3 minutes eye open, test is over, and we get the result actually almost immediately with the AI. But we still verify with neuropsychologists. And so it takes a couple of days, 3 days for someone to pick up your file and verify before they send back to whoever's doing it. So 3 days. 3 days is a lot better than 3 months. That's the normal rate in any hospital in the world. If you take an EEG in hospital, first of all, they only do the epilepsy. They don't do what we do. And you will have to take an appointment. Most of the time, 3 to 6 months to wait. Then you will have to do a 2 hours intervention, for us is 6 minutes. And then you will have to wait 3 months to get a result. For us is 3 days. So being quick is very important because you don't want to help you in 30 years from now. We want to help you now. It's now you have the problem, not in 30 years. I'll make a comparison called a blood test. Before the blood test, you go to the doctor and all you have to do is this. Remember this? Nah, that's it. And with this and the color of your skin, you're trying to imagine what you had. Before the blood test, they're trying to, okay, you look pale, you think, you're sweaty. I think it's that virus or sorry, the bacteria, but they didn't know for sure. And then one day, we create the blood test. And the blood test eliminates everything that is not and highlights what you had precisely. With that blood test, they developed new medication that was addressing exactly what you had and not hope for the best, take penicillin and it will kill something, hopefully, hope for the best. So now we cannot go back in time and just show the tongues to the doctors. We know there's a blood test. So there's no turning back, basically. We have created this for mental health. And the result is showing first in percentage. Imagine this is your ADHD, for example, and it will say ADHD, 34%. Everyone can read it. Everyone can read it. You don't have to be a doctor to do that. Anyone can read it and understand it. It's not an algebra that you have to be 14 years in university to understand neuropsychology and the way the things with all the graph and what does it mean. We have those, but we translate it into this. So the result, again, in an idea to gain clarity, and it's very precise, as we are about to be approved by the FDA and the MDR, the European equivalent of the FDA, medical device registration. We also give, on number 2, you can see like something like a scan, a topography of your skull, and you can see the zone active or inactive zone at different frequency we measured in the 6 minutes. It's very complete, 17 pages long, the full report. It's very comprehensive, very easy to read, and it gives very full ideas of condition you have. I will come a bit later in what condition we read. So then what? Now we identify some condition. I would say, have a nice day. So we couldn't do that. We had to find something else to do because identifying what's wrong, even if it's very precise, is not good enough. What's good enough is like, then what do we do now? So then we combine with another technology called neurofeedback. Now, neurofeedback, and this is the 9 biomarkers we measure, by the way: anxiety, depression, burnout, PTSD, which is the post-traumatic stress syndrome, ADHD, chronic pain, chronic insomnia, chronic alcoholism, and the adult autism. For now, we can actually measure much more biomarkers. For example, Alzheimer, for example, Parkinson, but we're not allowed to even use them because there's no cure. And so you cannot ethically announce a certain death to someone. Alzheimer, we can see 25 years in advance. So imagine someone who come with 30 years old, come today, make a test, 6 minutes, and in 6 minutes, I announce that for sure he's going to die in 20, 25 years from now from Alzheimer. This is not allowed in modern medicine. We can only do that when we have a cure. So we have removed it for now, but we can do it. Technology can do a lot more. So, by the way, those 9 biomarkers are the one that most people talk about when they go to see a doctor or even the hairdressers or the bar, because before they come to a psychologist, they try everything else. So the bar first, after 10 years of the bar, the liver cannot take it. They go to see the doctor understand why he went to the bar, and then treat for addiction for alcohol, but also what was the first problem in the first place. And then, and only then, they come to a psychologist. That's 15 years later, way too late. With detection and predictive, we can see that even before you have any symptom, even if you have anxiety, that usually causes the fact that you don't sleep, so chronic insomnia, then you start depression. With the 3 combined, you're not far to build a burnout. When you have burnout, you're probably going to have chronic pain going down from the neck all the way down. Because you cannot cope, you're going to drink, you will have chronic alcoholism, and so forth. Those conditions are all related. It's the same individual. They make us believe that it was either you have anxiety or you have depression. It cannot be both. Of course, it can be both. It can be all of that combined and more. So now we measure it and we can see or combine how many percentage you have all of them. Neurofeedback uses neuroplasticity. What it is harnessing the brain natural ability to form new pathway. So it's a bit like in the highway, you have a way of thinking, and most of the time works well. You know how to get out of the problem most of the time. For some people, when it's too deep, they cannot find a way out. And then they're going to loop. They're going to ask the same question with the same thing, create anxiety and all those things above, without finding their way out. That's why they need extra help. Now, they can talk to a psychologist, and we can do some of the job, 80%, pretty much 80% of the job. We're pretty good. It's not an exact science. Or you can use neurofeedback, exact science. We put the helmet back on, and then we have a series of 200 hours of session for all 9 biomarkers. And then we can actually address the condition. ADHD for kids, for example, can be removed entirely in a few sessions. Not better, removed. Between 5 to 10 sessions, that's 5 to 10 hours. Or you can try two years with a psychologist, and it will never be removed. It will be better. Or we can try us, we remove it within 5 hours. So when you're a pilot, for example, and you have a condition with all of the above, chronic, we know there's a report just coming out recently of the mental state of mind of pilots, and it's not good. And I was talking with the FAA in New York last week, and we're trying to bring the brand mark to them because they really have to do something. 60% of pilots have some condition, at least one or many times in their career, not counting like jet lag that creates chronic insomnia, that creates a lot of condition behind it. So neuroplasticity is to create a new pathway in the brain. And then it's not exactly we remove your ADHD or your condition, we actually create a new pathway, and then they always abandon. It's like a better way to do the information. So that's what we do. That is natural. No medication, then no side effects, no exposure to any radiation like the MRI, and no exposure to electricity. It's not the electric chair. We just read from your brain. We don't send you anything. So that is the best treatment you can ever do, is a treatment that you do yourself to yourself. Better than that is impossible. It's like being in your brain and asking the patient to do some exercise to create a new pathway. It works better. It's the best solution we ever had so far on planet Earth, because and with no and it costs nothing. I mean, it costs just one session of a psychologist, which is very little compared to years of medication or anything else. Because medication works for 7 days. After that, you have side effects mainly. So, and what's medication for the brain? There's only two things you can do with the brain, only two things. You can interact with the chemical reaction between synapses, or you can interact with the electricity. Don't try the electricity. That's called the electric chair. They try, it didn't work very well. So the only thing they give you is something to block the signal, which is called an antidepressant. And it blocks the signal, so you feel better momentarily. However, we are a very advanced machine. We have a little reporter in the brain that when a part of the brain sends a signal to the other side, the little reporters go to the other side and say, hey, did you get my message? And say, what message? I didn't receive anything because it was blocked by antidepressant. So the reporter come back to the senders and they say, excuse me, you never received it. So what the sender is going to do, you're going to send a lot more. So after 3 months, you go back to your psychiatrist and he says, yeah, I feel better in the beginning, but now I feel it's bad. So what you do is increase. You can only increase the dose, making the sender mad, completely mad, because his message never come across. And then you have a much harder condition. Or you can treat the senders and then it's problem solved. It's a little bit, I'm going to make another comparison like that. When we create the car, when we abandon the horses and we come with a car, at first, there was no road and there was no code and there was no driving license and there was no seatbelt or airbags. There was none of that. And then when the traffic became like more dangerous and there was some bad people, say, okay, we need to have a code. And then the code was not good enough. Then you have to have a driving license, a test. Then it was not good enough. So they start to impose seatbelts. First it was not compulsory, then become compulsory, and then it was not good enough. Then they put airbags. First for the drivers, then for the passenger, and then now the 6 or 7 airbags in every car. All the solution is fantastic when you crash. What about you never crash? If the car never crash, you can remove the seatbelt, the airbags, and all those things, and even the driving license. It will never crash. The solution was never thought, and they had a radar. The radar is 100 years old. But they couldn't put the radar. Why they didn't think about putting the radar in the car? They do now, sort of. But so the problem was always when you crash, when medicine is the same thing. They have wonderful solution in medicine and everything else once you're almost dead. But no one thought of doing something when you're in good health. That was a picture I took at the Olympics. That's my Canadian team. I'm a Canadian, so there's the Canadian. Those 2 girls won the silver medal in kayak, so I was really, really happy. And you can see they make a test also that day. So we have a bit of traction with Brandmark. It's been 2 years in. I talked to a lot of people from the Olympics. It really took off. Now we're talking to Eurocontrol, talking to a lot of committees. The list would be too long to list it here. There's a lot of traction. People say, wow, can we really do that? Yes. Some people still in denial. They say, okay, call us when it works. No, it works now. Wow. When it works, it would be fantastic. Yeah, it works now, today. Yes. So we have a collaboration in Africa, we have a collaboration in the Middle East. We're about to launch. Like this year is our year where a bunch of countries going to equip themselves with Brandmark. Countries, not a practice, not a doctor in a corner that you don't know. We sell by countries. That's how we do now. Just to let you know that mental health industry represents about, at the moment, about $200 billion in things. So longevity is part of that global market. We have a lot of wellness center, for example. Okay, wellness center is very interesting for us because if you're already aware that you need to take care of your wellness, then you might be aware that your wellness also includes mental health. At the moment, there's no mental health in any wellness center, only the body, only massage and things. And it's great. I love the massage, but the minute you finish the massage, you need another one. That's a problem. Where didn't address the massage because you tense. And why you tense? Because you have anxiety and stress and depression, or close to it. So you can have a Thai massagist to come for you, and I'm sure it's nice, or you can address it once and for all. So we've been very good at finding a lot of solutions that don't really work. You work for some industry. Of course, if you're the massagist, you don't want to be feel better because you don't need massage anymore or just for pleasure. But, so didn't that. No, we couldn't have this conversation 3 years ago. Why we couldn't have this conversation 3 years ago? Because we needed the AI to go that quick. What a human brain can see with all the data we're collecting from a brain, there's a lot of data, believe me, because every time you move anything is recorded by the brain, obviously. Even when I put the helmet on people and I said, okay, are you ready? It disturbed the signal and they haven't said anything or moved. Just because I talk to them, they understand what I'm saying. I can see the brain activity and disturb the signal just there. So everything we do, sense or smell or thing, is recorded by the brain at any times and much more. We have a filter in the brain. It's a bit like a vacuum cleaner. We have a filter, but what happens with any filter? It needs to be clean now and again. And if it's not clean, then the dust go to the machine, and that is not good. Now, we have a way to clean the filter. It's called sleeping. And that's why we have so many problems with mental health, because the majority of adult life don't sleep enough all their life. People say, I sleep 5 hours. Okay, it's not 5 or 6, or don't follow any books you will read of like, okay, if you're a CEO, the CEO in the world only sleep 4 hours, they get up at 3 in the morning, they do the gym. Forget all that. Okay, it's just to sell the books. In reality, you need 8 hours sleep. That's it, and that's all. I don't care who you are. There was an analysis, there was like an experience. It was actually a study that was made by British team some years ago, and there was a sleep specialist, and they took people that slept very well, 8 hours, and they deprived them for 1 hour. So they're going to wake them up 7 hours in, not 8 hours. So they're going to miss 1 hour only for 1 week. Only for 1 week. After 1 week, they took a DNA before the test and the DNA sample again after the test. After 1 week of missing 1 hour sleep of good sleepers, which is not the majority of people, majority don't do 8 hours, and missing just 1 hour, the DNA show activation of the gene of 90% of what causes cancer and all kind of things in just 1 week of 1 hour deprivation, 90% activation of cancer. So I don't want to scare you guys, but every time you don't sleep enough, that's what you just did. Activate in the gene, in your DNA, and there's no parade against that. So sleeping is absolutely important, and we see it. I had recently an ex-pilot, just retired, airline pilot, that flew back and forth in all many continents, didn't sleep for all his life, jet lag all the time. He has his brain marks show 90% activation of compensation, if you like, of chronic insomnia. He looks quiet, he looks composed, he's very nice, he can, but he's a zombie inside. And when you look at the topography, he only used half of the back of the brain. This is where the command center is. The other half is doing what he's supposed to do at night to keep it quiet. Basically, he's a zombie. He's working on one leg. I just talk about, I mean, like, this is, well, we have the approved. And by the way, we're the only one that took all this research in the world, 50 years of research, put in AI, and then try it. Because, you know, when somebody studies something, they study for 3 or 4 years on what, 50 patients? If lucky, let's say 20, 30. It's about that. For mental health, 30 people. And then they publish a paper, it's published on a journal of psychology or whatever the journal is, and it's done. They take the next envelopes and study something else. No one has ever tried that on a large scale. We're the only one that tried on a large scale using their research because we want to have the FDA and MDR approval. And then we realize that 90% of those research doesn't apply to the public. It was just lucky they find this thing and things. So we have to remove 90% of the entire research of the planet to use only 10% that is valid to have a brand mark that is actually validated both by the FDA in USA and MDR in Europe. So we need a lot more serious study in all these things. We have also 3 servers, and one of the servers going to analyze the cognitive load, or either it's working now, doing cognitive load, working memory, distraction. This is in use, for example, at the moment in the Eurostar. The Eurostar, I don't know if you follow the news for those in Europe, but there was a French conductor that committed suicide as he was working with the Eurostar, and since then the company decided to do something about it, and they were looking for a solution, and our servers is one of the solutions for that. And then I finish with that. Competitors, well, there is a lot of giants bigger than us that like Google or IBM Watson Health, but startup like Path AI and Zebra and all these things, they're all great. But none of them, and I repeat, none of them are engaged in mental health. Zero. And definitely not predictive mental health on top of that. So our vision is to create a mental health manageable, predictive, and accessible for all, because I'm not talking about our pricing here, but I can tell you it's not even 1% of what it costs your hospital. So any country that reimburses mental health, for example, a health system like France or Europe, many Europe and Canada, the bill that the hospital send to them is huge. In USA, for an EEG, is about $6,000 to $7,000. In Europe, is about 3,000 to 5,000 euros every time you're in EEG, and that's, I call it the medicine for the rich. Paid, not paid, is still super expensive. We have 1% of that price, more or less, or 2%, because we want everyone to use it, not those who can afford it. So that's what we do. So we're trying to make a big revolution here to really address mental health in a predictive way. Okay, that's my conclusion here, and to make it available for everybody, to predict beforehand what could happen to you, so we can remove it safely and you continue life like if nothing happened. That we save money for the system, mental health system, or the system, health system. That will obviously save a lot of trouble for the patient themselves, because they don't have to go to sick them, they don't have to swallow any medicine. And we use neurofeedback, which is a completely natural product of your brain neuroplasticity, to address that. You address it. We just show you how, and you do it yourself. That's it for me. That's Brandmark.
Okay, thank you, Patrick, for the presentation. I have many questions. Some of them may be a bit stupid or basic. I'm sorry in advance for them, but I think I think they will be useful for some of the people who will watch this interview. So, can you elaborate a little bit on how neurofeedback works exactly? What are the main principles, and also in practice how it works?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you an example. Is the best example. Like if you bring a kid with ADHD, which is the majority of kids, they're using tablets today or anything. So we have a tsunami. ADHD is not new, but now we have a tsunami of them. So ADHD is the attention disorder. Okay, so they cannot concentrate. Therefore, they have bad characters in school and so on. And not only that, it could be dangerous when you're driving, it could be any kind of things. We have a lot of ADHD actually. So for kids, we have a protocol of neurofeedback that is like a video game. And they can only play with their minds. So we equip them, okay? It's a 45-minute session with breaks. It's not 45 in a row, it's break. It's like playing a video game with levels. And then they have to control whatever they have to control in the game with their mind, hands at the back. Just microseconds, their brain or their attention goes somewhere else. At the microseconds, the game stops immediately. And then the only way to start again is for them to reconcentrate where they left off. After a few sessions of doing this, they send a signal that their brain is fleeing away every 2 minutes, every 30 seconds, or whatever the rhythm. And then the brain gets the message and going to create a better way because you just send, hey, where you been again? And you pay attention, I was talking to you. Hello, where you been again? And after a while, the brain says, yeah, you're right, I was completely off. So you're going to create, because you're demanding it, at that moment, you're going to create a new pathway, and then the old pathway is going to be abandoned, and you're going to use the new pathway, which is pay attention. ADHD is technically still there, but no one uses that highway anymore. They use the new highway, the bypass.
Super interesting. How would that work for depression, for example? Are you able with that EEG to detect depression in people's minds when they have kind of depressive
Yes.
state?
Yes, it's all the 9 markers I show you that include depression, anxiety, and burnout, which is the disease of the 21st century. So all that we can detect, and because we detect precisely, really precisely by the micro percent, then we know in protocol, that means like it's a bit complex in neurology, but we know which frequency you react on. And those neurofeedback protocols address a type of frequency. So basically, we have four types of frequency in the brain: theta, alpha, beta, gamma. And they go from the theta is typically 4 to 8 hertz. And this is what the brain generates when you so relax that you can fall asleep. That is normal to be very high when you're about to fall asleep, not during the day. Then you have the alpha, which is, people know that, it's like the frontier when you relax and you have a calm mind. Then you have, and usually it's from 8 to 12 hertz. And then from 12 to, let's say, 16, 20, then it's like the other wavelengths, and then you got the gamma at the end, which is above 30 hertz. So above 30 hertz, your brain regenerates gamma, you're in burnout already because you constantly thinking and things. So we can identify precisely those conditions. This is analysis, and all the literature we're using is not made by us, it's made by, it's 70 years, 50 to 70 years, depending on the research already made around the planet, and we put them to test. We say, okay, you, the team from Australia, say that if you find those frequency works, let's try it out with an EEG. They never done that. So we tried out not on one patient, on 30,000 patients. We have a database at Brainmark of 30,000 patients. So it's not 50, it's not 20, it's 30,000.
Yeah.
Yes, so we know for sure.
So basically, with that kind of special helmet on anyone's head, you're able to detect generic patterns that drive to that appear in anxiety states, in depression states, in ADHD, in
It's like a
PTSD, and
switch.
so on, right?
It's like a switch. So basically, when the brain needs to compensate, it switch on something, right? So let's say when you sleep normally, your chronic insomnia is 0 and the switch is off. When you don't sleep for a long time, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, very badly or poorly or not at all, then you can no longer live that way. So the brain, like a sponge, is going to switch on that activation of biomarkers of chronic insomnia, and it's going to help you to have a normal life during the day. It compensates for you. to the point when you go to 90% or even 100% or more, then you're going to feel it because the sponge is soaked and it cannot be taken more. Then you feel like drowsy all the time.
Okay. Super interesting, intriguing even. This is the first time I hear that, but I admit that I haven't investigated so
No, and it's not,
deeply in mental health.
and we are so it's the first one, the only one to hear the first time because we fairly new. Okay, it's based on science. It's not. We didn't create a science. We didn't create the EEG. EEG exists 100 years ago. We just make a lot better. We didn't create all this literature from the research we had. We just took them as if, test them, eliminate about 80% of them because they didn't work. And the MDR and the FDA eliminate another 10% because according to them, it was not good enough. So we're running on 10% of the research that was good enough to think. So we have the best of the best of the best of all the research in the world that AI process in 7 seconds when you send your report.
Great. Arnaud and Anna, do you have any questions? I don't want to monopolize all the time. I have more questions, but if you have some, please don't hesitate.
Anna just joined, I think, and Anna
Okay.
was there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So no questions. So let me go ahead. From the very practical point of view, how do I get such a helmet? You're selling to countries. Okay, that's great. But when I think of France, for example, it's going to take like 10 to 15 years until this is going to become common practice in the different hospitals that are nearby. How do I accelerate this? How do I get such a device? And by the way, you say it's not that expensive. So is it affordable for
It's
individual
not a money
people?
problem. It's not a money problem at all for anybody. This is not a money at all. The problem is not this. The problem is like we have run medicine in the world, France or not, in a certain way that if you what we're doing is very disruptive to what anybody else have done. So doctors, generalists, specialists, they don't know how to deal with that. There's fear. There's people fearing that with this work they will be out of job. There is also the pharmaceutical company that think, well, if you're right in medicine, then we out of business. So we have a lot of headwinds, resistance from a college of doctors, college of things that I was living in France. I told you in Gap in the beginning of the conversation, where one day I took my helmet and my computer, and I went to a brand new office. There was like 6 or 7 doctors there. It was brand new, just new. It smelled of paint. It was just there. And they were there. I wait patiently until there was no patient to talk to the doctors. And when I arrived to have a conversation, they block the door with their feet, like if I was selling, I don't know, something for the summer, or I don't know, something, a hot dog or something. They didn't let me finish or even talk. And then they make a complaint to the College of Doctors,
Oh, really?
in the region, and asking if somebody knows about me or know Brand Mark. And of course, they didn't have any clue because it was new, and the College of Doctors send me an email saying, we appreciate if you don't bother us. We're professional of the healthcare. Okay. So we don't have a time to buy hot dogs and magazines and whatever you sell. Please colporter, okay, in French. Please stop the colportage, okay, at the door. Which I reply, excuse me, I'm also a doctor like you. I'm trying to facilitate your thing. So we are there at the moment. We have a very heavy resistance, and they don't even know because I actually never explained what it was. They didn't let me in. So that was one example. But I try hospital and things. It's very difficult.
So
So
again, my
eventually,
question
we need a
is,
bit of time. Yes.
yes,
How do you
as
get
an
it? Yes.
individual, like an early adopter, like a visionary, whatever you want to call it, be
Yes.
biohacker, how do I get access to this technology before 20
Right.
years?
So at the moment, before that, there is private clinics in France that are already doing it. There is some in Switzerland, and I just opened one and soon 2 in Belgium. So slowly, we only start 2 years ago, right? So slowly we there. There was people doctors that when they see what we're doing, they, oh my God, I need this right now. So they equip their cabinet with it, their practice. And so yes, but it is not everywhere. And where you live, no one does that. I do this. I take this opportunity to say, look, if anyone listen to this training, I will love to talk to them because not only it works, it's verified, it's bona fide and certified, and soon, and that will help us a lot. Within 6 months' time, by the end of the year, we will have the MDR approval, the CE approval as a medical device. Then, from that moment on, we can go to any public instance like hospital and sell it as if, and no question asked because it's approved by the CE. If you have any question, ask them, don't ask us. At the moment, we have a lot of explanation to do. So we believe that when we receive finally the MDR approval, that will accelerate the implementation. We 6 months away. Some people didn't want to wait and already have implemented like a year, 2 years ago. So we have a few clinics this way, 3 in Switzerland, and it's probably 4 soon because it's going very, very, very well. But yes, it's not everywhere yet, but it's coming, hopefully, within 6 months.
Okay. Another question about Alzheimer's. So the official version is that there is no cure for it. However, some very recent research, which hasn't yet been sort of approved by all these very important communities of experts and so on, tends to prove that it is preventable by taking care of different components of your lifestyle. For example, sleep, stress management, again, anxiety, on all the things you're telling us about the metabolic health, about the cholesterol and the lipid profile you have. So it appears that you still have different ways that you can accelerate Alzheimer's disease or delay it. However,
there is
since
also to complete just to complete your list. I read a study that the herpes virus, unfortunately, facilitates the thing. Now you have to understand that herpes, even the binding one, the one that we have, we call a cold sore, there, which is herpes 1. Okay, it's not dangerous, it's nothing, but that's 80 to 90% of planet Earth population that have it.
Yeah. Okay. So
and we can remove it.
Yes. So my question is, doctors consider that Alzheimer is not preventable, so they will ban this diagnostic from your tests. However, I do not agree with this, and I don't care what the general doctors think. I want to apply what is possible today at my own risk, right? Again, what's the best way to do it? Do I have to go to other countries and practice medical tourism, or can I do it myself? What can I do?
It's not about country. It's like any doctors, me included. I'm a doctor in psychology. I got a medical license, and I'm in a good form here in Belgium as a commission of psychologists. And everywhere I practice, I have to be registered with the College of Psychology or the Commission of Psychologists. In France, you have the same thing here with IRS and so forth. Within those practice, you are bound to do a certain things. So I cannot give you a test, or we know each other for a long time. I go to your house one day, we have a beer, and I do it, and you just usher to everyone, and you will never know. That's the only way to do it. But you don't mention my name. If my name ever get out, and the College of Psychology find out, they erase me from the list.
Yes, I understand. It's incredible. Oh, Anna has.
Yes, Anna. Thank you, Anna, for joining anyway.
Yes. Yeah, thanks
Hopefully
for
you hear
joining.
the recording.
Yes.
Hopefully you will hear the recording, yes.
We have a recording, very interesting recording.
So yes, that's the problem. Like we have to be, you researched and you mentioned, and I agree with you totally. I lived a little bit in Japan in my life, and I also live in Southeast Asia because I wanted to know how they deal with the same disease with the human. And so I want to know how they deal with it. And they deal in very, very different way. They're using food, for example, a lot of food, better food, and better exercise, and better mental health, and everything you mentioned. And there's certain fruit, superfruits, and and super to really remove that. Of course, it's not a medicine, so it's a lifelong process. But in Japan, it's well known as like it's the country of 100 years old, right? Especially Okinawa, where there's like but they have a special climate, they have special things. Of course, not it's not proper to those live in Paris or live in New York or live in LA. They cannot have that kind of lifestyle, because the stress is up to the roof, especially Paris and some other capital, I think, or Hong Kong, where they're running all the time, right?
Okay, in the best case scenario, your technology is going to be adopted by different clinics, right? Yet clinics are
It will
treating,
be.
yes, it will be. Okay, yet clinics today and for the next 20 to 30 years are going to treat diseases. They will not treat healthy people so that they
Prevention.
stay healthy
Exactly.
as long as possible. So again, um, what you're doing is great, but again, if we're looking at biohackers and people in perfect health and who want to stay that way as long as possible, if you're looking through that perspective, it doesn't really help, and like the solution is very, very far away from us.
So
Any
it's not
insights,
as
any
far as you
ideas?
imagine.
Okay.
Yes. So once we get the full approval for all these things, then we can actually make a full scale up. We can actually sell to a lot of people. Okay, and the whole health system of a country. So that would be. But would it be used? Would it be approved? Would it be actually recognized? Even if it's recognized by the authority, it would be recognized by the doctor itself, because it will disrupt the way he does medicine himself. And people don't like to change. There's a problem. You're right about this. We have a lot of headwind. However, I can tell you that in Africa, for example, the interest is huge. They want to catch up the boat or the train. They've always been behind. We always sell to Africa what was no longer in use in the Western world
Mm.
34 years.
Mm.
This time, Africa, has waking up, and they want to be in front of the train, in first class, not at the back of the train, running behind. So the interest of Africa and Middle East and some country of Southeast Asia like Singapore and Malaysia, for example, this is where I'm working every day on. I've got the Minister of Health of Singapore, Minister of Health of Malaysia, that we've talked many times about it, and is really happy to see me very soon. Same thing in Saudi Arabia. I'm going in May. Same thing in Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria. They want to see it as soon as possible. And I'm talking to very high doctors or even presidents, at the time, with Nectar Medical helping me there. And so Europe and North America, sadly, is taking the back seat at the moment.
Yeah, which again brings me to my previous observation that we should practice medical tourism in different countries in order to
Yeah,
benefit from those technologies. This is not new here in France. I had
it's
to
going to be
go to
hard.
different countries to have different treatments.
Yes, it's in France specifically, but Belgium and Germany, I guess, it's so well established. So it's like an institution. It is an institution, and is one of the
Yeah.
four pillars of the Republic, right? You have education, you have the law, you have medicine, and you have I forgot the last one, but you have four pillars that hold and the politics, right, and the system, and those four pillars hold the system together. You cannot take the pillars away, or the whole thing collapse. So those pillars are being so built, and protected.
Yeah.
It will take for a long time to shake, unless anybody else does it, and then they will have no choice to accelerate the process.
Yes, I understand. Makes total sense. Time's running up. I think we can wrap up. Very intriguing to me, honestly, and I can't wait to put that helmet on my
You
skull
can
and try to.
You're welcome to come to Brussels.
Yeah.
It's only from where you live. It's like I believe five
Yeah.
hours
Yeah.
train, right?
Yes, or 1 hour,
5 hours
yeah, or 1.5 hour by plane.
by plane. Yes, train, plane. For you, is straight line from Aix-en-Provence, Gare TGV, straight to the Gare du
Yeah,
Midi
absolutely. Or
here.
Marseille airport
And
straight to Brussels.
yes, absolutely. And 1 hour you here, and then I'll be all we need is a bit of a long trip for 6 minutes, because all we need is 6 minutes, as I say, to do that, and you will have a result like, yeah. But I'd be happy to do that.
Wow.
I've got some friends and family living in Aix-en-Provence, so maybe when I come, also,
That would
especially
be
for you, I will come.
absolutely that would be absolutely crazy. I would be more than delighted to have you here at home, grab a cup of coffee, of fine wine. You know, we have this in France. I have a
Yes.
vineyard just in front of my house. And by the way, we organized the 2060 Longevity Forum, which is sort of World Economic Forum of Longevity in Aix-en-Provence on the 30th and 31st of August, bringing
Okay.
venture capitalists in investing exclusively in longevity. Many venture capitalists that are curious about longevity as a new big thing to invest in. Scientists from all over the world, medical doctors, entrepreneurs in which have funded longevity startups. So yeah,
I mean, if you
maybe
invite
you
me, I
can.
mean,
I'll send you the information, and hopefully you can come
I
eventually
would
with your
love to.
family and do mix
Mhm.
dream holidays with
Tourism,
longevity
and yes,
exploration. Yes.
I would love to.
Okay.
And you're right. I want to finish with this conclusion: longevity. Um, for the very rich people on this planet, like very extremely rich, like Elon Musk rich kind of thing, once you got everything money can buy and everything you can possibly imagine, like Elon Musk thing, of course, there's not many of those people on the planet, but there's more and more millionaires in the planet that can really live a very happy life. Once you got everything money can buy, what else do you want? And you know what they want is, as all the world, they want more life.
More life. Absolutely. Very nice conclusion.
They want more life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you,
Yes.
Patrick, again, for the very insightful informations here. I'm looking forward to meeting you personally and to see your
I
device
will.
broadly adopted worldwide.
Yes, we're working hard on it, and yes, it's very positive. I got very positive news that I can announce right now. It's not signed, but it's supposed to be signed either today or tomorrow, and other things sometime next week. And with countries like Saudi Arabia and things like, it's really really interesting what's happening. Not
Yeah,
everyone is saying no. I can tell you, not everyone is saying no.
yeah. It's comforting to say to know. Thank
Yes,
you, Patrick. Thanks, Arno, for joining. Bye bye.
yes, and thank
Bye
you
bye.
for those watching this video. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.